Although the boys' bodies have not been found, the prosecution has said that evidence, including interviews with the West's other children, indicates the boys were killed in September of 2020, 3 months before the West reported them missing. The West are charged with second-degree murder, involuntary manslaughter, and other offenses and face life terms in prison if convicted.
April 14th, 2023. The trial of Jacqueline and Trezell West is back in session. Paul Thomas has been called to testify and will do so via Zoom. Prosecutor Eric Smith is questioning Thomas, who is a special agent for the Secret Service. The West are charged with murder and other crimes in the deaths of Classic and Sincere, also known as Orrin 4 and Orson 3. 2 of their adopted children. Their bodies have not been found. The West have pleaded not guilty. Thomas works on digital evidence extraction. He's explaining tools used for the extraction, how to bypass codes and get info from the phones. Thomas testified he's not always able to bypass PINs or passwords on cell phones. They can use brute force by attempting to use every password or PIN they have available to try to unlock the phone. Thomas said he received 2 LG phones from Bakersfield Police Department in this case. The first phone, item 1, had a pattern passcode on it, he said. Item 2 had a PIN lock. The phones were taken to the lab where Thomas photographed them and used tools to get an extraction. He said they got a limited amount of data from each device. Thomas said it depends on the device, and for these models, that's the best they could get. The data extracted was processed through software and a report generated for an investigator to go through, Thomas said. Thomas said he did identify email accounts for each phone. One email appears to have belonged to Jacqueline West, the other to Trezell. The extractions were given to BPD for review, Thomas said. Smith ended his questioning. Under cross-examination from Alexia Torres-Stallings, Jacqueline West's lead attorney, Thomas said it appears he had the PIN code for item 2. He said they weren't able to unlock item 1, but the PIN unlocked item 2. Torres-Stallings asked if he was aware the pattern password for item 1 was provided to law enforcement at an earlier time. Judge Charles Brenner sustained an objection from Smith. The objection was for lack of foundation. Torres-Stallings ended her questioning, and Victor Nasser, an attorney for Trezell West, is now cross-examining Thomas. Thomas said this was the best extraction that could have been done at the time on the 2 phones. He said they're always getting new, improved technology that could potentially help them get more information. Thomas has been excused. Scott Medlin has been called to testify. He will testify via Zoom. He's employed with the FBI, has been since 2007. He's a digital forensic examiner. On December 28, 2020, Medlin received a number of items from an FBI agent in Bakersfield. Medlin received a thumb drive, 6 laptops, hard drive, Samsung Galaxy Note, cell phone, 2 Amazon brand tablets, a bag of 8 thumb drives, 3 micro SD cards, an LG phone, and another LG phone. Medlin testified a number of tools were used to extract data from the devices. He's going over the tools used. Medlin was not able to extract data from the Samsung phone. The phone did not respond, screen was damaged, could not get it to boot up. He was not able to extract data from one of the LG phones. It was locked with a PIN code, Medlin said. The other LG phone was also locked with a PIN, and he was not able to extract data from it. Medlin corrected himself after being questioned by Smith and said one of the phones was locked with a pattern. He was not able to extract data from a hard disk drive, Medlin said. He got data from 2 of the 3 micro SD cards, he said. Medlin was able to extract data from a thumb drive and from 8 USB drives. He got data from multiple laptops, Medlin said. Smith ended his questioning and Torres-Stallings has begun cross-examination. Medlin was first contacted for this case on December 24, 2020. He began examining devices 4 days later. He said on December 28, 2020, he was told the evidence was ready to be picked up and examined. He's not sure what happened in the intervening days. Medlin testified he was later told to stop working on the items and doesn't know why. Torres Stallings finished, and Timothy Hennessy, lead attorney for Trezell West, has begun cross-examination. Medlin confirmed one of the LG phones was locked with a pattern. Hennessy asked if there were ways to still get into it, but he just didn't have time. Medlin said he didn't get around to doing that before he was told to stop working on the devices. Medlin has been excused. BPD Detective Antonio Orosco has been called to the stand. He is testifying in person. Said he was asked to download footage from a surveillance camera affixed to the northwest corner of the Bakersfield Police Department. It faces southwest, covering 8th Street, south of Truxton Avenue, and a portion of the Strata Credit Union parking lot. He got footage from December 19, 2020, from the afternoon. Smith is moving the footage into evidence. An image from that camera is being displayed in court, and Orozco is pointing out the credit union, the department, and 8th Street. Smith said there is an issue with playing the video and asked that it be played at a later time. He finished questioning, and Orozco has been excused. Phillip West has been called to the stand. He is the father of Trezell West. Phillip West said Trezell did a lot of special work after becoming an adult. Carpet, tile, landscaping, he confirmed. Trezell worked at loss prevention at a mall. In 2020, Phillip West lived on Potomac Avenue with his wife and Josiah West, his other son. Smith asked where Trezell and Jacqueline lived after they married. Phillip West said he can't remember, but in 2020 they lived at the Casa Loma Apartments on Lotus Lane. When asked to name the West biological children, Phillip West did so, then said, "Don't do this to me," his voice breaking. Judge Brimmer told him to take a minute if he needs to. Phillip West took a sip of water and resumed testifying. He wiped his face with a tissue. He said in March 2020 he would see Trezell, Jacqueline, and the children every other week or so. Phillip West said his wife told him Trezell had bought a home in California City. He said he didn't watch any of the West children while they were moving. He said he thinks that they moved in one day. Phillip West said he never visited after they moved to California City. He said he was making plans to visit, wanted them to get everything situated. Phillip West said they're always together on Christmas. On December 19, 2020, he said all of the children except Orrin and Orson were dropped off at his home. He first found out Orrin and Orson were missing when an officer came from Cal City. Phillip West said he was present when CPS came to his home. Phillip West says he can't remember for sure what happened, but believes a social worker spoke to the boys. He said they were taken from the home. He was provided visitations. Phillip West said the visitations happened in Shafter at a facility. He said they'd sometimes spend 3 hours with the children. A liaison would be present. She wouldn't disturb us, Phillip West said. Sometimes Trezell and Jacqueline were also there, Phillip West said. The visitations happened about 4 months or so, Phillip West said. Phillip West said he recalls telling officers the last time everyone was together was July 4th, 2020. After the West moved to Cal City, Phillip West never saw Orrin or Orson, according to his testimony. Asked about his cane shop, Phillip West said he's a craftsman and makes canes out of wood. He held up his own cane for everyone to see. Judge Brenner said that's a nice-looking cane and held it. Smith ended his questioning after showing Phillip West a photo of a cane made from 2 pieces of wood duct taped together. Phillip West said that's not a cane he made. Hennessy has begun cross-examination. Phillip West said he was concerned when COVID began because of his age and his wife has asthma. He agreed that's why the kids would often stay in the van when Trezell or Jacqueline made a quick stop. "I know how many children got out of the car and came into my house," Phillip West said when asked if sometimes he thought there were 4 children there instead of 6 and vice versa. Phillip West said he doesn't recall him getting less close with Trezell after Trezell got married. He said he gave them space because they were married, but they weren't less close. "I raised them to be fathers," Phillip West said of his sons. "I had no father. I know what it takes." Phillip West said Trezell is creative like him, thinks he got his creativity from him. On the morning when the Cal City police officers arrived at Phillip West's home, he said he remembers an officer describing the Cal City house as a compound. "I believe I was in denial," Phillip West said, when he heard the allegations. He said he's still mind-boggled. "It doesn't reflect the Trezell he raised or knew," he said in response to Hennessy's questions. Phillip West has been excused. Detective John Ryan is back on the stand as the trial resumes. Prosecutor Eric Smith is playing another clip of a second interview conducted with Jacqueline West a day after Orrin and Orson were reported missing. An officer is speaking quietly to Jacqueline West during the interview, much of which was played yesterday. The officer tells her she's not going to get her other children back, and she says she and Trezell have nothing to do with the boys' disappearance. The officer tells her Trezell's parents and brother broke down and were losing it when told the boys were missing. He tells her to give him something. Jacqueline West says she left them in the backyard. Jacqueline West makes a comment about areas that look like graves in the backyard. Ryan takes over the investigation and asks if they're buried there, and she says, "I didn't bury them there." The yard was later dug up by the FBI and nothing was found. Jacqueline West continues to say she doesn't know what happened. As Ryan tells her this case is going to go national, then worldwide, and everyone will know her and her husband's names. Ryan asks if she wants the whole world to think she's a bad person and a terrible mom. Jacqueline says people think that already. The detective keeps telling she's a good person and something bad happened or she's covering for her husband. "I have no idea where they are, where they could be," Jacqueline West says. Ryan asks if she killed the boys. "No," she says. "Did her husband?" "No," she says. Ryan continues to tell her her story doesn't add up. "The video surveillance captured nothing," he says. "I think they're inside somewhere," Jacqueline says. Ryan asks who would take them. She says it could be anyone. Ryan tells her he thinks the boys have been missing so long that she's past the remorse, the crying stage. He says someone's going to find out. No one can cover their tracks that well. Ryan notes she's had her new phone over a month, and there are no photos of the boys on it. He says they're working backwards to find out the last time anyone saw the boys. Jacqueline West said she got rid of her last phone because it was broken. She says she threw it in the trash, didn't save the SIM card. She says she didn't need it. "If we find out foul play was involved, this is going to court," Ryan says. He asks if she thinks any jury is going to believe her. He says they'll look at the evidence, how she was treated here and all the opportunities she had to tell the truth. She shakes her head when asked if something bad happened and she knows more than what she's saying. "Well, that's messed up right there," Jacqueline says when Ryan tells her she's going to lose everything. Her children, her friends, family, house, everything. "You can't lie forever. Your stories don't match," Ryan tells Jacqueline. "There is no story," Jacqueline says. Ryan tells her she doesn't want this on her shoulders the rest of her life. He says he can tell something is bothering her. "There's nothing," she says. "There's nothing," Jacqueline says again, after Ryan keeps pressing her. He says he did what he had to do. He asks if she wants his card. She nods her head, and he says he'll get her one and leaves the room. Trezell West enters the room and sits next to her. The video has issues playing at this point. Smith is trying to get it to play. Judge Brimmer said it will have to be fixed, and the last few minutes of the recording will be played on Monday. Smith is questioning Ryan. Ryan said he contacted a resident on Aspen Avenue in Cal City to get surveillance footage. He asked to look at the footage a few days prior to when the boys were reported missing to see if they could see them in any footage. Ryan said they reviewed footage from December 19, 2020. He said when the family left the home in the van, only 4 juveniles and Trezell and Jacqueline entered the van. Ryan transported the footage to BPD and the crime analysis team. Ryan also went to an address on Rome Beauty Drive in Cal City. It had multiple cameras on it. He spoke to the homeowner and got permission to remove the DVR player and take it to the headquarters for analysis. Ryan spent 6 or 7 days in Cal City for the investigation. Court has ended for the day. The trial will resume Monday, 9 a.m.